Well, good morning to you, Tuberubers, around the known universe and otherwise. It's Thursday morning, and I'm short talk in the front yard. The little patch of grass I keep, it's Bermuda grass mostly, is kind of thirsty looking. I'm looking at the color of the grass this year. It doesn't look right. There's too much brown mixed in, but I don't know if that's junk that's coming down out of the atmosphere or whether I'm just not giving it enough water, you know. I don't like throwing a whole lot of water on the ground. I mean, this is like one of the most valuable resources around here. Hello? Without water, you don't have life. And so anyway, I thought, well, I've watched some of the algorithm this morning, and it's, the usual depressing stuff about, the world and your stomach. I thought, well, I'm just going to go water the yard for a few minutes. And a little lilac bush, she likes, I guess it's a she, I don't know. She likes to drink water, that's for sure. I came in the other day, and the leaves were sort of like turning upside down, like they were kind of surrendering or something. Come out with your hands up. So I gave the little, I call the name of my lilac is Green. I call the plant Green. And so anyway, Green was sitting here turning inside out, and I thought, well, give that rascal a drink. And it did help. So, it's been up to about 102, something like that, 104 the last few days. And by golly, I hadn't seen a cloud in sight. Now today I've actually seen a few clouds up there. But it was a bad night for wind last night. And I was just thinking about it this morning. Over in Ruidoso, which is, I don't know, maybe 100 miles from here, up in the mountains, they have a horrendous fire going. And there's questions about, of course, whether it was arson. And, there are people who are twisted enough to burn down the forest because of, I don't know if it's ideological or if they're just basically kind of ruthless as people. I don't know. But I was thinking those poor firefighters up there in the mountain trying to fight that rascal, and the winds were kicking last night for hours. I mean, it was wild. I'm not really paying attention to the camera. So this is like maybe a new low in terms of amateurish production. Hey, maybe we could sign up for some sort of award, The most amateur production on the internet by you-know-who, the old guy. Well, anyhow, I was just watching some of this stuff. Matt Walsh has a good video out today and I watched that probably 3/4 or most of it. I think it's about 16 minutes, and he does a good job on it, talking about what's going on right now with Disney. Okay, so enough water for you. Don't want to spoil the plants, Next thing you know, they'll want water every day. Ugh. This thing's really cranking. I guess I got too much volume on it. Okay, well, let's see if I can quit fooling around and pay attention to you. To my viewers. All three of you. Hey, smoke another one, Einstein. So anyway, I was thinking about this a little bit this morning, and I thought, this has been one of the things that's kind of been puzzling me for years now. And, it seems to be speeding up, whatever this phenomenon might be called. I call it the Jim Jones syndrome. Now, a lot of you are not old enough to remember Jim Jones. He was a real weirdo. He was a cultist leader who was, pretending to be a Christian. He had a big, not too big, but a pretty good-sized congregation out. I think it was in L.A. It was years and years ago. Well, anyway, they moved down to a place called Guyana, which is, I believe, on the northern coast of South America. I think that's where that is. And then there was this weird ritual killing where he produced poisoned Kool-Aid, I believe it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was Kool-Aid. It might have been grape. And he put, I don't know what it was, arsenic or something in there. And who knows what the premise was, but he basically wheedled all these people into drinking this stuff voluntarily, or maybe under some kind of compulsion, I don't know. Wiped out almost the whole crew of them. Now, there were a few survivors, people who ran away or hid, or people who had left the so-called congregation earlier and just said, this is nuts, and walked away. There were a few survivors, but in other words, how did Jim Jones gain anything by causing the suicide of his own followers and his own death? He brought down his whole life's work with poison. Now, what's the upside from his perspective? Why did he want to do that? And it's always, these kind of things just kind of puzzle me. But anyway, Matt was talking about Disney and how basically they're killing their own company. It's kind of like the Budweiser syndrome after Mulvaney came on board. The brand just took a real hard hit, and I guess it's still struggling as a result. But the point is that these big wokesters, or whatever they're called, the net result is their business, it goes under. It becomes irrelevant. Nobody wants that product. Nobody wants that service. The head or the CEO or whatever of Cracker Barrel is apparently trying to do the same thing to that business as well, to try to just kill it. And I don't understand that. Well, anyway, when you think about that kind of suicide pact across the system, who wins? Who wins when that happens? And that's the way I see with this economic stuff, the banks, the way that they're managing the money, and the governmental disaster. I mean, they're trying to bring down, I guess, the judgment of God, the wrath of God on them, and they're succeeding. You know, in the U.S., you have an invasion, a wide open invasion of the border. We have no idea how many millions of men are now here in the U.S. Where's their wives? Where's their children? And where did they go once they got here? Why did they bring in this thing here where essentially it has the possibility for destroying the Republic? How many of those guys were terrorists? How many of those guys are now members of cells or something like that? But in other words, this woke left-wing ideology, it's basically a slow-motion suicide pact, and it works out remarkably well if the whole idea was to kill the patient. But you know, I guess perhaps it's linked a little bit to the pagan idea of Phoenix, the Phoenix arising out of the ashes, is that you have to bring a destruction first before the new creation comes on board, which is itself a pagan idea, which was for its time true enough, but fully realized in the Messiah, realized in the death and the resurrection of the King of the universe. Now, in that case, that's the real deal. But if you take that and try to turn it into an automatic proposition, a sort of a machine where you drop the quarter in and you always get the same result out the bottom, if it becomes magic in that sense, this idea of destruction and renewal, now you're talking a suicide pact. And so, I mean, how many of the followers of Jim Jones have come back to talk to us, you know, since their little episode with the Kool-Aid? Their witness dies out. Their voice is silenced in earth. And I thought, that's the reality. And so anyway, just thinking about this stuff a little bit today, is that, you know, when you look at all these wokesters and all this left-wing, take a look at what this same kind of idea, and I guess Newsom might be replacing the poodle as their candidate, I don't know. But take a look at what Newsom has done to Santa Monica, to Oakland, to San Francisco. I don't even know how far this poison has spread, but this idea of we're going to turn what used to be a beautiful and prosperous city into really a sort of a drugged up war zone, a kind of a prostitute's heaven. I mean, it's a gangland style dump. That's the progress they're looking for. That's what they're trying to build across the nation. Who does that help? Who wins there? And so when you think about these kinds of things, realize that these people are also condemning themselves. These destructive behaviors, whether it's Disney and their gay movies, or if it's the government of San Francisco deciding that it's quite all right to turn what was a prosperous city into essentially a dump that smells a lot like an outdoor sewer. The ideas here that we're seeing are judgment related, judgment based. The land is under judgment. The great God, he will not be mocked. You can try to mock him, I suppose, if you want to. I wouldn't. But he is not mocked. If you will reap what you sow, and if you sow this confusion and lies, you will reap disaster and bankruptcy and probably death. So when we think about these things for a Thursday morning and walking out the door, getting ready to go to work, be a part of the real team of those who are alive, those who've been ransomed from the fall. These men are not free. They believe they're free, but they're not. If the good Lord Jesus has not freed you, you're not a free man. And the freedom that he brings is the freedom from condemnation and fury from on high. That has a purchase price which exceeds all the wealth of the known worlds, all of the worlds, every world you can find. Gather up every bit of gold, every bit of platinum, every gem. Just make a huge stack of it, compile the known wealth of the universe, if you like. He exceeds that at an infinite range. In terms of, he is the treasure. He's the guy that made all that stuff. He's the one who causes it to cohere in space-time sequentially, moment by moment. So God wins, and hands down. But on the way down the way, the situation has to be that judgment will come. And what it works out is that even the people who are being judged, even the institutions and nations that are being judged, they agree on the inside that they should be destroyed. And that's, I think, part of why they're doing these things. They're self-destructive. They've self-condemned themselves. And so Paul says of himself, I no longer judge myself. I put off all of those things, and I look forward to a judgment to come at the voice and the word of another. And you know who that'd be. So go out today and be confident. You're on the winning side. You're on the side that's building reality. You're that's working to cooperate with the Father, to submit to his order, and to work in a way that honors his presence. That's the gold mine right there for society. You're the gold mine when you're doing that kind of stuff, because that stuff counts. So anyway, it's a time to go to work pretty soon, and I still want to sit down and smoke another cigarette, because they're so good for you. And you have a good day. Thanks for listening, and thanks for just being there. It's in the hard time that's coming, is that people will feel that they're all alone. You're not alone. You never have been. You ain't now. You never will be. I'm going to maybe turn that into a little tagline. Maybe you'll hear some more of that from me. But the aloneness that's being propagated out there, it's all phony baloney. It's all built upon that slave status that says something has to happen and it's just horrible. Now, the freed one says the judgment did occur. The Savior took it and he carried it away for us. Just like in the Old Testament, the priest would lay his hands on the animals, and one of them would be sent away into the wilderness. The sins of the people were placed upon I guess it was a goat, and that animal wandered off, never to probably be devoured, to be honest with you. But the point is that the sins were taken away from us, and this changes everything. This allows for a new start based on supernatural love. It's not an automatic reset. It's not a machine that produces renewal. He renews because he loves. And he loves because he's good. And so we do worship the living God. Have a good day, and bye-bye.